Hello, welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
It's me, your very, very best friend. I should have said Misa. That would have sold the joke better. Excuse me.
Hey, it's Dan. What's going on, everybody?
Well, you terrified me for a second.
I know. It was like a Snapchat filter or something, right? Isn't that what the kids do?
Yeah.
That's what the commercials tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just. I'm gonna do the rest of a surprise episode in that voice, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. But I can't do it now. I'm gonna spring it on you in the next 3 minutes
At random times. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming back to join us today, Dan. We're talking about minute 128. This is
Still going.
a next generation Commodore business machine of an episode. It starts with Finn congratulating Beaumont Kin for some reason. And
You did it. You got in the movie.
Hey, you have a friend who makes movies.
Remember Lost? You were great in that.
Ends with Poe Dameron turning to face an unknown assailant. But yes, we start out with everybody's congratulating everybody else. Finn is congratulating
I love
Kin, and then
that awkward interaction between Beaumont Kin and Finn. It's like they work together, but they're mostly like friends through other friends. You know what I mean? It's like
when Beaumont Kin's kind of like the new guy, so he's like, "Oh, hey, how's
or it's like
good."
Yeah, Finn gives him like a little shoulder squeeze, like, "Hey."
Like Rose was their commonality. Finn was friends with Rose, and Rose was friends with Mary. But then once Rose is out of it, they're just like, hey, man.
Why is Rose out of it? Only movie executives can say.
And we don't get Finn and Rose having a moment. Like, that would be nice.
Man, they did her so dirty. Kelly Marie Tran. I really felt like, I wanted to say real about this. John Boyega has said, or at least very, very strongly alluded to, he tried to use some very careful Hollywood language, that he felt like he got done dirty a little bit in Last Jedi and not this. And I feel like he doesn't quite know how much potential he had after Last Jedi with like the Rose Tico stuff to really like be a unique story. And
why was he what was he so mad about from The Last Jedi?
That's a good question that I won't pretend I understand, especially as a white dude saying that a black dude who is frustrated with his representation needs to listen to me. Yeah. But he did say, I think, that he thought that plot line, or, he was very diplomatic about it. He was like, Star Wars has never been good to people of color. And, I really feel like Finn has not been a part of the main action when he could have been. And I don't want to name names, and I don't want to hear people going after my boy, J.J. Abrams. And it was just sort of like when he said all that, I was like, the Canto Bight stuff with Rose Tico, I know I might be in the minority with a lot of outspoken people. I really thought that was like a romantic sequence of two people, like whether or not they fall in love, they're at least having this amazing kind of like escape together. And I don't, to really, they did nothing with it. And that really bummed me out, because I thought what they did with Finn was just cram him into the main action and not give him anything to do, just sort of stand around. So especially when you look at some of the lines he gets at the end of the movie, him and Poe are just saying stuff like, "Look, hooray, good job, this is nice." They like it, that's all the line. And I feel like there were some profound things Ryan Johnson was trying to do with Last Jedi and Finn, and just like, Look at how there is class warfare within the Star Wars universe, and it would have been cool if him and Rose had developed this, like, I don't know, socialist movement or just partnership based on kindness that they made sure came back, and instead it just felt like chess pieces, and I got really bummed out by that. I really loved Rose Tico. I thought that was a really fun character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Finn does look especially sad in this scene. He looks very is he like, although realistically, what is Finn gonna do now? Like, what role does a ex-stormtrooper have in a Like, what kind of job is it? Going to go back to being a janitor? I guess.
Now
It's
I
a
think,
really-
this is the sitcom spin-off of this, where he goes, he's trying to get a job, but he's an first order guy, so nobody will hire him, but he does. He can get a job as a janitor working for some friend of his.
It's a
Somebody
sad
who knows somebody.
future for our dude. I think,
Yeah.
like watching how like emotionally, I don't want to say needy, but he's needy. Like, where's Ray? I gotta hug Ray. Just reminds me of how like I thought he had more chemistry with Daisy Ridley than Kylo Ren, dude. So like I kind of was just like, yeah, well, what are you gonna? You're just gonna hug her and then go back to some job, right? Like, what do you even do, man? Like, you should be looking for Rose. Where's Rose? Like, it was silly how he's just looking around. Yeah. Where's the main character? I gotta stand next to the main character.
That's what it was.
What's his
trying to
motivation?
get on screen more. Yeah.
What does my character want? My character wants to be next to Ray. So anything that's not that, he's going to be
so
driving
bleakly
towards
cynical.
That. Yeah, poor Finn. We'll see what. Maybe we'll see. Hopefully, when the Ray movie comes out, we'll see that has some. Well, at least here, it'll be something where she's on the phone going, "Oh, Ray, Finn, I'm so glad you're doing well now. Okay, bye." You know, like so they don't have to have him in the.
I mean, all the main characters in the sequel trilogy are interesting to me. I think they got used really poorly a lot of time, but I would see a solo movie with any of them.
Yeah.
Finn, give him a movie. Poe, give him a movie. Just because they didn't get used well in this movie, and I have a lot of smack talk, doesn't mean I dislike any of them. I really love Star Wars, and it's just I think this is a weird. This whole movie is like a machine gun of bad choices to me.
Why is my imagination, or does Poe Dameron have his arm in a sling?
Yeah,
he does.
He does.
You can see at the end of the minute. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Not sure why.
Pourquoi? Yeah. I mean,
we
find out he
cover
broke
that
it.
part.
He broke it like way back in like minute 35 in the speeder chase on Pasana.
Well, you know what? That's why Chewie got a medal for breaking Poe's arm. Everyone really wanted his arm to get broken. And that is to me the most horrifying thing in all these minutes is the absolute hollow corniness of handing Chewie that medal, which just feels like JJ handing himself a medal. Like, great job, me. Like, Chewie's done so much and he deserves it, but also imagine if you just fought like your third war and then you land and your old flame is there and she's like, here's a gold star. Like, that would be like the most. That would be so
Maybe
irritated.
It's like a dog biscuit.
It is. And then Chewie's just like, oh my God. You know, like this look of just like, oh, as much as you could give a Wookiee. This look of just
like he's
flattery.
finally getting his recognition.
Like, we all know what that is, but it's just so, it's just, this is for you. Like, come on.
I don't like it, but for my reasons sound much whinier. In that it
you were
seems
going to the
like
Tashi station.
Yeah. Because those power converters aren't going to pick themselves up.
No.
No, it seems like, and I know, you know, it's because of the unique position. I'm going to lump you into this, Dan, and I'm sorry, but we are in, we're in a different tier, a different echelon, if you will, of Star Wars nerds that we, you know, know too much about things like this. And I think to, you know, the populace at large, the audience, general audience who this is targeted at, they are maybe just barely over the last, 40 years, they were just like, oh yeah, and Chewbacca never got a medal. Whereas we've been talking about that for 40 years. And we had like the MTV Awards or whatever where he got one. And it's like, this is old. It's like them saying like, hey, you know what? Boba Fett, that guy's cool. And we're like, yeah, we talked about that in the 90s. Come on.
Can I counter this and say, I think the average Star Wars fan doesn't even remember that moment. And so I think the average person who's just, it's like with the prequels, right? Think of all the young people who were like 10, 12 years younger than us who saw the prequels and were like, oh, those are the best movies. There's people who came into Force Awakens and was like, oh, what are these? And imagine them watching that last moment. And and so why is that character getting a gold medal for like hanging out? What is happening? It's so presentational. Like what? It's so out of nowhere.
I feel like my catchphrase for this season is, to be fair. I keep like adding in like these like, well, they did have it be, they turned it into kind of like a totem before when she was, like Leia was holding it a lot. When she was holding Han's medallion earlier, when she was kind of like meditating on it and like using it when she wanted to go like, before she did her thing where she like appeared to Ben Solo in a vision, she was holding the medal. And so that was because it was like, what she had gotten that back from Han because it represented kind of when they
and
first
that's
met,
this
more
movie,
or less,
right?
and that's and so it felt like, I think maybe if Solo had been more successful, that would have been the dice.
Oh no,
They did
because
the dice already though.
they were like really ramping up to like use the dice all over and make the dice a thing, and then they didn't. So now so the metal thing could have been. They already had it, so if you had no clue what the medal was related to, Leia was holding it. She knew it was Han's, and now Mavs is just like, this was Leia's via Han, so I'm giving it to you.
I just had the most horrifying realization. All this time since I first saw this movie, my brain had been so dismissive by the end of the movie that I just assumed this was so out of nowhere that Maz just made this or like ordered it online for Chewie. And for you to explain to me right now, as most people probably figured out while they're watching the movie, that this is like Leia's corpse medal being handed to him in this moment is so dumb and sad. And like I see even more what he's trying to do, but it's like unearned on this level of, good Lord, I'm just so bummed.
You think it's more dumb now that she didn't order it from Space Amazon? Like,
there's no way this could have worked, but in this moment of celebration, to be like, hey, you know that thing that you've always deserved because you're a kind-hearted warrior? I plucked this from your friend's grave. Here you go. Like, I think it's very different than if it would have been like some other keepsake like the dice. That would have made a lot of sense to me. But to be like, hey, remember how you got shortchanged on this? She finally died. Here you go. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
The dice wouldn't work because the dice are on the Falcon.
Nothing would have worked.
So as long as Chewie has the Falcon, he has the dice. So
give Chewie one of her old Beanie Babies. Give him anything except for the thing he thought he deserved. And now, like, I don't know. It's like, imagine if Alex. Imagine if there was some podcast awards.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, Pete was invited on stage and given an award, and you had to sort of stand next to him while he was handed his own award.
Yes.
And then imagine you guys have not a falling out, but your lives go in different directions. 35 years pass.
And
then you do these amazing works, right? You write this comic book, you illustrate and write this comic book, and it takes off. And you're just like, I wonder if anyone's really going to recognize me for this. And then the day before it gets published, Pete passes away of natural causes. And then someone comes up to you from Pete's inner circle, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen you so long. And they're like, here's the award you should have gotten. That is so creepy.
I see, in that situation, it's Chewie's reaction that's puzzling. Because if I'd be more like, in your face, retailer. Chewie should be more like, anyway.
Or like solemn. Like, I think instead of being sort of like in awe and joyful, which is I think what they're going for, he should put like his head in his hand and be just like, oh, wow, holy And instead it just feels sort of like, whoopee!
Here's what my way around this problem is I would have this happening not in the foreground. I would have it where when Poe and them are talking, you'd see in the background, you'd see her put the thing around Chewbacca's neck. And then so people would go, oh, look, he's finally it's not like calling your attention to it.
My main problem is it's like a solemn thing amid celebration. And I know that that was what the Return of the Jedi celebration was all about. And that's the same vibe he's going for. But it does feel like that reaction they gave Chewie was incorrect. It is too much like, oh, cool.
Well, and at what point did they realize, oh, you know what? We never gave Chewbacca a medal. He might have been hurt by that. Like they've had 35
That's
years.
what I mean.
Now suddenly,
how many things should he have gotten by now? Exactly. Exactly. That's why I was horrified. Not because I was so much of a ding dong I didn't figure it out on my own, but because it's like, okay, you really waited this? You waited for her to die. What does that imply about everyone? Oh, just, hey, everybody, Chewie's got a chip on his shoulder, so if Leia dies, make sure he gets this, or he's going to big old stink when the lawyer reads over her will, so just give it to him, you know?
I've got two things to read from not from the novelization, from the Wikipedia page on the Medal of Bravery.
Oh, okay.
Which is what this is. That both will...
That proved he had courage at last.
Yeah. It's what is it? No.
Who knows?
What is it? Anyway.
Lion? Cowardly lion?
Yeah, but what does he say? Like,
he's the...
Oh, it's not, what does he give? A testimonial. There you go.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for. Well, let me tell you.
Tell us.
According to George Lucas, now, see, earlier, this was controversy. There's a whole section called controversy. I love it when there's a controversy section on a Wikipedia page. And on a Wikipedia page...
Like catnip.
But George Lucas himself explained that the Wookiee species, they don't really care for medals. So, a large contingent of Alliance officers were sent to Kashyyyk for a memorable celebration due to Chewie's efforts. So they went and they gave him a party, like a parade, instead of a medal.
When?
Who?
No, like right after the Battle of Yavin?
Apparently, yeah.
You know,
they're running a rebellion here. We got to throw Chewie a birthday party.
That is some kind of classic George Lucas to just be like, nah, they don't like it.
I always meant to film that, but there wasn't enough money and time ran out. And...
I can see how he'd film it and it would work, but also like for him to be so dismissive of like, well, I had a good idea you don't know about, so get lost.
Now, along the same lines of filming it and not having it work, this particular sequence of Maz giving Chewie the medal was filmed for the Force Awakens and cut, and then reused for this movie.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the background of different stuff? Like they green screened it out and like now there's a celebration in the background?
Their base was pretty much the same in the right.
Similar,
they lived in a kind of jungly, like vaguely jungly kind of place. So you could easily make one pass for the other.
There's all these people jumping up and down and hugging behind him when he
That was the same thing they were doing after they blew up Starkiller Base. It's
wow.
It's the same.
I hate this.
So what I love about that is it explains why they had to have Princess Leia holding the medal, because they wanted to squeeze in the scene and they need to have some reason why. And it explains why Maz is even there, because if Maz had been the one giving her the medal, she really doesn't have anything to do. She just stands around at the Rebel base just kind of like doing nothing. So
that's what I mean by it feels like JJ giving himself a medal. I feel like he's going, I wish I put this scene in. You know what? I deserve this. I deserve this scene to be canon.
And a follow-up in that, much like a lot of faded celebrities, Han apparently gave Maz the medal to pay off his tab at some point.
What?
Pay off his debt or his tab. He traded the medal for...
Wait, so is that Han's medal? And not...
Yeah, that's Han's medal.
Right. You just explained that. Yeah.
And Leia
oh, man, that's
had
so
gotten
dumb.
it back from Maz, I believe.
That's too many exchanges.
So all this time, they've been like, should we just give Chewie a medal for that? That happened 20 years ago. They're like, no, let's wait till he needs to do one more thing before we give him the medal. We can't just give it to him out of nowhere. We have to, two more things.
Just keep an eye on pawn shops. Han will lose his eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm skipping over the part where Kar Nook Sin had taken it from a shipment due for Doc Ondar and all this other stuff.
So which was the controversy? The fact that George Lucas...
Controversy was that that Chewbacca did not get a medal to begin with.
Oh, okay. Not which of these two solutions was the...
No.
Okay.
I'm learning that Han Solo's love language is not gifts.
No.
They mean very little to him and he loses them all the time.
Yeah. Which is so funny because he's so obsessed with rewards and getting money and stuff like that.
And I think it was
because he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we see some more. I want to talk about. Obviously, I want to talk about Claude.
Claude gets a hug.
Gives the new guy like not only does he get the awkward like congrats from Finn, but then he's like looking around awkwardly and he's like, oh, I can hug Claude.
Do you think Claude is
Dan, if you don't, do you know Claude is the big slug?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
the axolotl slug with no limbs, just fingers coming
Yeah.
out of his head.
Is he slimy or dry?
Hmm.
Like snakes look like they'd be wet, but
Ooh.
they're actually dry. Is he like that,
I
or
did
is he like?
kinda-
Is it like a
That's the
frost?
vibe I got.
I'm assuming he's dry because he's like a technician, mechanic, and he would be getting slime all over the
Yep.
Oh,
all the
That's
Falcon's
true.
inner
Too much oil.
Or
Good
maybe
point,
that
good
helps.
point.
Maybe he was like,
Yeah.
Claude, get in there and lubricate the manifold.
they should have had
Also,
him go
what
in
is-
for the hug, and
yeah.
then he's like, "Oh," and he pulls back, and his shirt's all wet from hugging him.
Right.
That would be.
What do you think he-
like nuts and bolts? and
How does he
gears.
manipulate tools, do you think?
The Force.
Um,
He's part of a dyad.
yeah, psychologically.
It could be. I mean, that's the
He
thing.
makes-
Like, it looks like he's got like, looks like these are sensitive somehow, right? Because of the way they kind of like quiver in the air. Listeners, I'm doing some real visual work.
Yeah,
right now.
he's doing like hand antlers.
So maybe they're telekinetic force things. I don't know, but yeah, the
Yeah.
hug implies a lot about species that really makes you think.
Are you guys familiar with the painter Joni?
Nope.
Joni was a painter. She was a this is back in the 70s. And I would look through this year's catalog, and there would be a section of greeting cards made by Joni. And Joni was a she was quadriplegic. She could only move her head, and the way she would paint these is by putting the paintbrush in her mouth and painting the greeting cards. So maybe that's what Claude does. Maybe he kind of just puts it in his mouth, and it's like,
Sure.
Interesting.
he's like,
Although,
Joni.
yeah, he comes from a species that has never had limbs, so you'd have to think culturally they have a whole like system of
Yeah,
how
they
they
must.
manipulate things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least he got to
One
hug
day we'll
somebody.
find out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he seems to really like it,
Yeah.
like a lot.
Doesn't get a hug here, or doesn't give a hug rather. Don't
Yeah.
give a hug.
Who gives a hug?
It's like I really
Story
liked you
Bliss.
and Lost.
Story Bliss and Poe Dameron, they have a moment of like acknowledgement, and then it's, I think, outside of the
Oh, that's the second horniest moment in Star Wars history.
because of their, like, I like the way that this plays. It's a very Han Solo kind of
Yeah.
moment because he's giving it like without saying anything. You can tell exactly what's going on. That they like share a nod, and then he was like, like gives her like a look, and she shakes her head no, and then he's like, oh well, all right, good, like.
I thought it was very strange
seeing
to
you.
have a silent exchange between them when you cannot see Carrie Russell's expression at all. You know what I mean?
I feel like that helmet was designed to show how emphatically she's about to shake her head no to a proposition.
right. Should have had jingle bells on it.
But yes, Carrie Russell getting her curtain call. Oh, no, does she show up again later on in the celebrations?
No.
There is no
that's it.
later on.
Okay, so this
She
is her.
fades
This
into
is
the
her last
distance
shot.
after.
So yeah, she was kind of a. I feel like she's somebody who's going to have to be fleshed out in the ancillary materials. You know what I mean? She's going to have to be like a. Is there another character like that who got Wedge is like that? Like a lot of stuff was
Yeah.
added.
Wedge
to
got a lot of play, yeah.
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 So,
So maybe they'll go add some, Zori Bliss leading a squadron kind of books.
yeah.
Or Zori Bliss and like the Pirate Patrol or whatever the other, the gang that she had,
Right.
the Spice Runners or whatever. On
And she
Kajimi.
finds out she's force sensitive and starts training as a Jedi.
Never mind.
So I play a lot of Fortnite with my daughters,
Mhm.
and Rise of Skywalker, I just remembered I did see a third time. I saw it with my older daughter because I've seen every sequel trilogy movie and the 2 spin-offs with her in the theaters. And we were playing Fortnite like maybe 2 months ago, and the Carrie Russell character was one of the Fortnite skins that was available in the shop one day. And it was with a whole bunch of different Star Wars skins. Like you could get the Leia one, the Han one, the Luke one, the Kylo Ren one, the Rey one, and then she was at like the bottom. And my daughter was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh, remember she's in the last one. Like
You made her watch the whole movie again.
Well, I explained to her, and she went, "That character was really dumb. Why does it even have a Fortnite skin?" And she gave me a list of all the women characters who were better developed, and I was like, "You know what?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go."
Yeah.
Like
it's more
Kira
about
from
contracts
Solo
than-
or something. Yeah. I mean, I think this moment is actually kind of fun. It's funny to me too. Every time there's a horny moment in Star Wars, like the shirtless Kylo Ren moment last last movie, but it's harmless. You get what's happening. It's not one of those things where the creepiest thing happens, the funniest thing happens, which means it worked in some way. So I don't know.
Within Poe's character, he's that kind of he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, it's definitely not as offensive as the moment that follows it, which is the weird metal stuff. And I feel bad that I didn't understand it and I went off on it. And I do want to apologize to listeners about just how emphatically I go off and yuck people's yums. But because I appreciate that making something's a lot harder than tearing it down. But I also just feel like this was the fact that he took the scene from Force Awakens. It's really hard to live out. Like, Pete, like you've lived out here for a while. It's hard to make things. It's hard to get things off the ground, and I think when you have the ability to make something for Disney, you have all of these tools at your disposal, and then it comes out like this. It's really hard to not be a fan and not go like, slow down, just be a human being. This is a sloppy Coca-Cola can. This is not. This is a product. It's not a story. So that's why I'm frustrated, and I think that joke is funny.
Before we wrap up, I want to call attention to some background aliens who we see in this.
I wanted to ask you about one of them.
Well, one of them is one where we saw back in Force Awakens when Captain Daisy is joyfully reunited with her wife. You can see behind him our old friend, the pirate Sedano Ithano, the guy who has the kind of like the red helmet with like side.
The Scarlet Pimpernel or whatever his name is.
Yeah, and
isn't he in Solo too?
Is he in Solo? I don't remember.
So. I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe.
According
What's he doing
to
there? He's a pirate.
Well, don't forget he's part of the People's Fleet. Everyone showed up for that one. Anyone would have vested interest because apparently he is actually an arms dealer selling battle droids to the Kragan Corps and his Warbird pirates. Doesn't sound like a very resistance-y kind of thing, but like you said,
probably has to pay less taxes after this. So.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem like he's paired up with his friend from last time. Remember
Quiggold?
Finn? Yeah. So.
Oh, and you know what? That reminds me too. That really is a big deal that two women kiss at the end of this movie, but really could have done more with that. Star Wars really could have done more with some representation. That at the very end of the final movie,
right,
two people kiss, and you don't even tell us what their names are. Just look at them. Look at them go.
Something very easy to cut out for our friends in the Chinese market.
Exactly. That kind of thing just is what makes me say the word cynical over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes me, I don't know, it's not for me to judge, pass judgment on this one way or the other, because it's not, I'm not affected by it. I'm not, marginalized, but like, I like the idea of, just like in, the compare and contrast, the way that we had this in another J.J. Abrams movie, in the Star Trek one with Sulu's family. Like, I like the idea that we should be just normalized, should just be like, oh yeah, when we see people hugging, some of them will be same-sex couples. That's great. But like the fact that like, obviously we could do more with that although these are pretty chaste movies, the sequel movies. What they don't have a lot of romance plot anyway. They have just
they had a lot of opportunities, and I really feel like Finn and Poe had enough chemistry. They could have done something with that, and they just didn't. They didn't like. I don't know. There were a lot of chances where they could have taken a not a bigger risk, but just followed that. And I think because everyone involved was just like an old straight person, that this is the only context. Yeah, like it should be normalized, but also like, what normalizes it more? Putting it in the foreground and being like, yeah, of course this is happening. It's just happening. So
it's sort of like how a lot of like teams they would add an average. It's like it's like Ernie Hudson in Ghostbusters.
It's
like,
tokeny.
Well, we need some representation here. You won't do very much, but at least now we can say we're
right.
We're doing this.
Right. They could have done more.
Yeah. The other alien I was going to call attention to is Sasorathwis.
Is that the one with the white fur side burns?
People who are watching the YouTube channel, you can see that white-faced kind of alien. I'm really they really are emphasizing humans in this scene. I'm like, you have all these cool, awesome, detailed alien costumes. Why aren't they in the foreground? And put the boring humans in the background.
And don't you think like all the cool aliens too are just sort of standing there expressionless? Like this particular alien, like it almost looks like the human is the whole point of the shot is the human going, "Wow, your face looks weird," and they just sort of cock their head like, "Why are you staring at me?"
I'm sure they're not like articulated enough to be able to talk.
Right, and then Claude is like, "I look weird," and he's like, "Yes, you get a hug for looking weird." And then the red guy is like, "I'm gonna duck my head and be covered up by something more important." It's just they're standing there.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Alex. There is one that I think it was mainly in the last minute, but it kind of in the background of this minute too, I believe. There's one that looks like a robot bounty hunter, kind of like almost like a little bit Constable Zuvio, or like what was the what was the robot that helped them out in Power Rangers?
R2D2.
Not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, it's after my time, but I remember I watched enough of it. Power Rangers came out like I want to say either my senior year of high school or freshman year of college, where I was like, it was perfect for like ironic watching. Mm-hmm. And so I was familiar with the beginning of it a little bit, but I can't remember what the robot's name is. But all those millennials are shouting at us right now.
That one?
Could be. Hard to tell over this call.
Oh yeah, you see him in one of these.
Yeah.
ALIL3. Yeah.
Alt L3? So it's a different L3.
AL1 L3.
Oh, AL1.
AL1 AL3.
I just assumed he was
protocol
a keyboard
droid.
combination.
Once a protocol droid in the administrative center of the Kessel Spice Mines. So
there you go.
It's a weird connection to
L3. They were freed.
AL1, or rather her antecedent form, witnessed a droid revolution sparked by a unique self-made droid. The event offered AL1 a powerful glimpse of an independent future.
But they mean L3 when they say unique self-made droid.
Maybe that's why
that's who they're referring to. Yeah.
Is that why she has L3 as the end? Is it like in tribute they gave themselves L3 as like a last name?
Oh, maybe. That does sound. Plausible.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
In the
Especially
decades
if they changed
since,
it.
She has been slowly rebuilding herself and gaining more independence. Allie now operates as a cargo hauler, taking on exclusively droid clientele. So she's kind of
give me her story.
Yeah, look at this cool guy. Look at Kid Marshmallow, Kid Mulwash. Like, why is that guy not in the? Why is that guy not in the foreground?
There should be more of these.
Anyway, you're paying all that money for special effects, and you put them in the background there. That's all I have for minute number 128.
Same, I think. Yeah, we can do this until tomorrow.
Hopefully not that long.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Rather, Dan, can you come back tomorrow to talk about? Really, I think it's just kind of more hugging and stuff. So.
I'm here for that. Hugging.
Oh yeah, there's some cringy stuff tomorrow too.
Yep.
Hey, you listeners, if you're into hugging, you know what feels like a nice hug is a blanket. I think you can get a throw blanket or a comforter or something like that at our merch store.
Yeah, blankets, duvet covers.
Duvet cover. There you go.
Pillows.
Feels like a hug. You can put it on and pretend you're hugging Claude. So
Claude be a good body pillow.
Oh man. Star Wars, they do make a cardboard cutout of Claude that I've thought about buying multiple times.
Hugging that wouldn't be the same.
No, it would be like a paper cut.
Yeah.
A parallel paper cut. The corrugated paper cuts are the worst.
Dan Telfer, have you ever owned a cardboard standee like that?
Yes.
Whom of?
I briefly had one of Yoda in college.
Okay.
All right. Yoda in college. So it's like
he's really hammered.
Like Monsters University.
Kind of bloated and sweaty. Yeah.
Right. Trying to testing out some facial hair things that didn't quite work.
Yeah. Being arrested for DUI.
But if you want to go get a duvet cover, a throw pillow, a tote bag to put them all in, why not go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch? We got Alex Robinson's designs. We got some other designs. We got lots of beautiful stuff over there. You can get them on shirts, mugs, all kinds of things. So
People are telling me there's a lot of great stuff up there. They come up to me, they tell me that.
I saw somebody the other day posted a picture of they were going into a meeting and they took a picture. They were wearing the socks. They got the Star Wars Minute logo socks, and I was like, oh, awesome. I don't know if I've seen a pair of socks in the wild before. So.
Did they get the job?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was a job interview. I think it was like a meeting, something like that.
Yeah, better luck next time.
They got fired because they were like, what are those socks?
Work.
So, go buy some stuff. Meet you back here tomorrow. Brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.